Hello YouTube, let's do another drive time video. So again, I'm driving to work, no time, but I wanted to pick up on some stuff. So I saw a few things the other day on the news, some news article, and I didn't really take much account for it because honestly, I mean, most news is just bullshit. It's just clickbait. They just want to sell you more newspaper. But it got to my attention when a few people raised the question regarding the latest article that some people have read. So a few weeks back, we had news come out that the whatever, like, you know, some cybercrime authority in America have seized $1 billion worth of Bitcoin from some Silk Road user or whatnot, right? Some dodgy stuff, right? And then recently we've had an article saying that $1.4 billion worth of Bitcoin was taken from people with ransomware. Just want to quickly pick up on that. Okay, so a lot of people are turning around and saying like how Bitcoin is dodgy or whatnot, you know, how it's used for ransomware, how it's used for illicit stuff. True, 100% true, and so is other forms of currency. But what I want to really explain here is very simple. Okay, there's a few fundamentals that Bitcoin has, which for some reason media just don't bother looking into. I mean, they spend all that time writing the article. I mean, just spend like 5 minutes reading the bloody white paper, right? You know, Bitcoin's white paper is so transparent. It's available anyway. I can put a link in the bottom of this description so people can also see it. Then you'll understand exactly what happens, all right? But I'll explain that afterwards, right? Let me just say this first, right? So Bitcoin, $1 billion worth of Bitcoin was seized for activities on the Silk Road. Guess what they buy and sell on the Silk Road? Normally drugs and other bullshit, right? So yeah, well, that's not really considered dodgy, is it? I mean, people buy more drugs with cash, which is untraceable, by the way, than anything else. So just remember what I said about traceable, right? And then you've got $1.4 billion worth, you know, of activity on ransomware. Well, yeah, I mean, people could ransom people in anything. But when you take that 1.4 and you take that 1 billion, that's 2.4 billion. When you take 2.4 billion and look at the Bitcoin market capitalization, and you see that the Bitcoin market cap is 320 billion, I believe, right? And you divide that by the number that they've seized, it's less than 1%. So less than 1% of Bitcoin is being used for illicit activities, right? And then when you look at the total global market capitalization of currency, and you see how much money is being you know, used illicitly, or how many banks have facilitated towards that, right? So you see the number, and you see it in the, not in the billions, you see it in the trillions, right? So again, when you do the maths, it's about 3% of the total global GDP, where the money has been used for money laundering or whatnot, and this and that, for dodgy stuff, right? So I mean, it's one of those kind of dilemma where you know, they're not picking on the global currency because there's not one to choose from. There's so many. Instead, they've decided to pick on Bitcoin. But the problem is with these guys who are writing these articles, they just did not look into the white paper. Now, let me explain a little bit about that, and I'm sure that will clear the air a little bit, right? So you got some reporters coming along and writing about how $1 billion worth got seized, how $1.4 billion was used for ransomware and XYZ and this and that. Well, this is the problem you've got. The guys who did the ransomware, or the guys where it was seized, I mean, the word seized, okay, it was brilliant, right? Okay, because that's the clue, right? How do you seize something that is untraceable? Remember the word traceable. How do you seize something that is untraceable? Well, you can't, right? The problem with Bitcoin is, and this is a good problem, it's traceable. And it's traceable by nature, because when Bitcoin was created, in the white paper, you can read it and you can see that every single Bitcoin is accounted for. you can't have 1 minus or 1 plus, right? Because the code doesn't work. The blockchain will not confirm it. So the blockchain keeps a complete record of every single Bitcoin in existence from the day it was created, right? So because of that, you've got smart people in government agencies who are able to go and track that Bitcoin and also seize that Bitcoin, right? So it's traceable, right? They use that traceable mechanism to actually track it down and basically find whoever owns that wallet address or whatever, or where the money's been going, because you can track every single Bitcoin from the day it was created, right? Every single wallet is ever gone to, every single exchange is ever entered, right? So this is the situation you've got. So Bitcoin itself it's traceable. Every single coin is traceable. So clearly they're using that to seize money. So then you've got a problem about ransomwares. I mean, the guys who are doing ransomware must be the biggest idiots on the planet, because they're using Bitcoin. They're using something that is traceable. I mean, put it this way, if I was in their shoes, right, I'd rather use the old kidnapping tactic, right? Ransom somebody, kidnap someone, ransom someone, but take cash, because cash is not traceable, all right? So then you've got the common problem of money laundering, right? So a lot of people don't even know what laundering money is, right? Let's just put it in a simple term, right? You take money that you've acquired through whatever means, and you don't pay your taxes, or you move it from one place to another, all sorts of other stuff. That is technically known as money laundering, okay? Basically, you were supposed to pay taxes on it, you didn't, or you earned it in a complete different manner. Now, ultimately, cash is king, because end of the day, if you had it all in cash, then it's not traceable. You can just go somewhere, you can exchange it, do whatever, all sorts of other stuff with cash. But with Bitcoin, you really can't, because ultimately, it just keeps on following you, and it's going to follow you to infinity, right? Because the blockchain is there to account for it. So that's a big problem. Now, people, for example, in countries like, and I'm just going to pick one very good country, right? So you've got countries like the Great Firewall of China, means basically nothing can go in or out of China without China knowing it. And that's a very good example, because a country like China doesn't allow its residents, or whatever, its business owners or residents, whatever, to take money out of the country. And it's completely understandable, because if you start taking money out of the country, then the country basically loses its economical fundamentals, right? Which means if the money stays, then they can grow economically. They can grow into a larger country, monetary wise. So, for example, my family's from Bangladesh, and I can tell you this: in Bangladesh, you're not allowed to take out more than, I think, £8,000 worth. They calculate it in pounds, but I'm sure it's in dollars as well. Probably it's about $10,000, right? But the point is, they don't allow that any more money than that to legally leave the country, so that most of the money can stay inside, and they can, economically grow with that money. China allows $50,000, right, which is approximately about £40,000, right, in my opinion, to leave the country. So that's all good. But then you've got people who may want to take more than that. And how would they do it? Well, they're going to launder it, right? They're going to launder it, and it's very simple for them to launder it. I could go into another video explaining how how Chinese millionaires and billionaires usually launder their money. But the point is ultimately cash is king, right? So when cash is untraceable, you can say it's traceable by the note numbers, but then when you take note from one person, you can't really hold the other person accountable, solely because of one of the fundamentals of fiat currency is a promissory, right? It's a promise to pay the bearer. So you've just taken a promise and you've given it to someone else, right? So that person really isn't accountable for whatever crimes you did. However, with Bitcoin, if I take a dodgy Bitcoin that's been traded for, say, the Silk Road, or traded for some ransomware, right? That particular coin, the specific coin, can be tracked. When you have a situation like that, it doesn't matter where the coin goes, the coin can be tracked, right? And you can always find the previous owner or whatnot. And a lot of people will say, well, hold on, maybe you can have a decentralized wallet. Yes, you can. Maybe you can have an anonymous wallet. Yes, you can. But the coin itself can be tracked, right? So because the coin itself can be tracked means that you know the person who bought it and XYZ, put enough pressure on somebody and someone might crack, right? So that's the whole idea. And that's the biggest fundamentals about Bitcoin, that there will never be more than 21 million coin, and all 21 million coin will be accounted for. You cannot have one less, all right? If you have one less, then the blockchain doesn't work, all right? And you think people haven't tried it? I'll tell you this, right? Bitcoin is a baby for the last 10, 11 years now, right? And, you know, coming up to almost 12 years now, actually. And Bitcoin has stood the test of time. And what I mean by that, every single government agency, big government agency, has probably spent millions, if not billions, trying to take down Bitcoin. But they can't, because Bitcoin still accounts for every single Bitcoin. And that's the beauty about it. This is why I'm so happy to be in Bitcoin. I'm so happy to promote Bitcoin. By the way, I'm not a financial advisor, so don't take any of this as my advice. But what I'm trying to say here is Bitcoin truly and honestly can't be. It's just not in the nature. It's just not in the code. You cannot use Bitcoin to do any dodgy transactions. Simply put, right? You cannot do it, because ultimately every single transaction can be traced, right? You can go to Blockchain Explorer and double check and find every single coin there. I mean, if you've got the time, trust me, you're going to have to go through hundreds of lines of code. But the point is someone with enough resource and enough time can actually track down where every single Bitcoin originated and where every single Bitcoin has ended up, right? So that's the beauty. So just remember that, you know, there are more people out there and not more percentage, right? When you look at the total percentage, right, it's trillion against 2.4 billion, right? And even then, those guys have to exit somewhere. You can't just hold your Bitcoin for life. You have to exit. And guess what? All you have to do is track that coin, right? Once you track that coin, you know exactly what that person was, you know, unless they do some sort of a dodgy OTC over-the-counter trade where basically, you know, someone's come in with a whole, you know, bag load of cash and decided to buy a Bitcoin, and that person took, then yeah, I mean, you can turn around and say, well, it's not really traceable. Yeah, fair play in that sense, but even then the cash has to come from somewhere. So yeah, you can still trace it, right? But when it comes to I mean, you still trace the coin, right? You still know that's the dodgy coin. Now it's just gone into an anonymous wallet. Then whoever bought the coin now has a problem. And also another thing I want to mention, a lot of the mainstream exchanges, right? So these are the top exchanges in the world. They actually do track coins that have been used in illicit deals or whatever you want to call it, right? And a lot of the time, anybody who even by accident ends up grabbing one of those coins, right? So you bought a coin from a friend who bought it from a friend and who bought it from someone else, or bought it on an open market or an OTC. Ultimately, your platform, your exchange may even block your account if they think or if they know that this is one of those dodgy coins. So a lot of the time it's actually a lot better to buy a clean coin, and the only way you know to verify it's clean or it's being cleaned at some point, right, is as long as it's on an exchange. The exchange will never sell you a dodgy coin. All right, that's the beauty about exchanges, right? So yeah, they have their downs, which is like, you know, they have their cons. They charge extortionate fees, you know, they make so much money out of you. They're centralized, they control everything. Half the time you might not even be able to take your coin out of them, but you do get one pro out of them. That means a proper centralized cryptocurrency exchange, which operates under the laws, will never ever sell you a dirty coin, right? So that's one of the good things that comes out of all of this. Anyway, just wanted to basically say, look guys, more cash. I mean, cash is much better when you're going to do something dodgy. Untraceable accounts in tax havens are much more easier to collect cash and move money around than Bitcoin. Ultimately, because Bitcoin has the most positive one problem for anybody who's you know, a dodgy player in the game, is that it's trackable. Okay, it's traceable. So please, take the information that I've just given here and understand. And this video was made just so that some people who have this misconception about Bitcoin, or most cryptocurrency, I would say, right, being untraceable, it's not true. You can actually trace the coin, especially Bitcoin. It's part of its fundamentals. You have to, unless you're in a coin like Monero or something, and trust me, people will probably use more Monero to do dodgy transactions than Bitcoin, because Monero theoretically can be untraceable. It has a mechanism built into it, but that's the fundamentals of that coin, right? It's a privacy coin. However, Bitcoin isn't a privacy coin, right? This is the beautiful thing. It's not a privacy coin. It doesn't hold your data private. Well, it does hold your data, as in your name and address, but your wallet, it's always trackable. The coin itself is trackable. It has an ID which can be tracked for infinity. So remember, look, I've maintained this many times, that a Bitcoin is a Bitcoin and everything else is a shitcoin, solely because of the fundamentals that Bitcoin brought to the industry of cryptocurrency. Currently, we have to say, before Bitcoin, there was no industry, right? It's the first, it's the grandfather of all of them. And you can see that big institutions are not interested in the Monero. Big institutions are not interested too much in the Ethereum unless they're building something on top of Ethereum, right? Big institutions are not interested mostly, right? Most of them are not interested in the top 100 cryptocurrencies. They're interested in Bitcoin because of those fundamentals, because it's traceable, because it's trackable, because it's technically legal, right? Technically legal in the sense that you can't really do anything illegal with it. And that's the beauty. That's what people want, because you want to stay on the right side of the law, right? So why not stay on the right side of the law with something that can be traceable? So then they can see, or anybody can see, that you have not used it for any illicit purposes. I hope this video has been informative. Guys, if you do like the content, please do click the share button and share it. It does help the YouTube algorithm. Also subscribe, like, and if you do subscribe, then I would really appreciate if you can put the bell button. Just do that and do all notifications, so in the future, whenever I release some content that might be informative to you, or educational at least, right? What the heck, just have fun, for God's sake, right? Even if it's fun, at least you can see it, and it will help my channel grow. I genuinely don't want any money. I'm not monetizing any of my stuff. I just want to help people understand the fundamentals of what Bitcoin is trying to do, and what Bitcoin is, and what it can be in the future. And in fact, on the future, I will make a few more videos regarding Bitcoin and what I think it will do in the future, what I think it will become, because nothing stays the same. So Bitcoin, I don't think will stay the same. And, I'm going to do another video on that and explain what I mean by that. But until then, guys, take care. Like, subscribe, share, hit that bell button, smash that like button, right? So that's the whole idea, so we can get more exposure and hopefully get some good, simple information to people in the best way possible. Like, I'm just a simple guy. I like to explain it simply. I'm not going to give you all these technical stuffs and all those mumbo jumbo, none of that business. Just simple information, and see where we go from there. Also, there's a few really interesting videos coming soon, so yeah, do watch the space, and you're gonna definitely love it. Take care, look after yourselves, and remember, save your money, all right? And one Bitcoin is worth one Bitcoin, nothing more. Take care, bye.